What's Cespedes' situation, your level of concern right now?
I have no concern. He feels great. I just saw him, and he feels fine. He's going to hit again today, and he's ready to go.
Next question for Terry. Go over here in the center left.
Your team is kind of in maybe the Royals situation last year, first time in, experiencing it, winning almost all the games. They have a little more experience. Do you feel like that's any factor at all?
Well, I think anytime you do something for the first time, and you're going to be better off if you've done it again. So certainly, I think they're at a little bit more of an advantage that they've been through this before. They've been through all the hoopla and jumping through all the hoops before the games start. So they're a little more used to it than we are. I don't know how that's going to translate on the field, but certainly they're probably a lot more comfortable than what's happening now than our guys will be shortly.
And over to the right, Buster.
Terry, there was so much talk about Harvey's innings count in September. When you had your discussion leading up to choosing him and for that start, how much discussion was there about the innings counts? And did you have to get some sort of an okay from people above you, I guess?
Well, Buster, we kind of cleared that up at the end. It goes back to, after the Dodger game or after the Yankee game when we took a man out after 5, pitching great. A couple of days later, he walked in. He said, "Listen, we're going to get in the postseason, and I got to be ready, and I'm not ready." He said, "I got to. My next 2 starts, I got to throw at least 100 pitches to get myself back where I need to be." And I said, "Well, we need to address a few things, talk to a few other people." And Sandy and I met, and Sandy said it's his call. If he thinks he needs to do that, we'll try to get him ready, and we did. So it's pretty much been Matt and me ever since. I don't think we've needed to go elsewhere until as long as I know he's ready to go.
And over here to the left, Barry.
Hey, Terry. With what David Wright means to this franchise and what he's meant and gone through this year, what do you think getting to the World Series like you for the first time means to him?
Well, it means a lot. He's been a Met his whole career. He's been through, obviously they got close one time, and the kind of person he is, I'm not surprised when it was time to re-sign here that he didn't say, "Look, I'm a Met, and I want to be a part of this moving forward." He saw those good arms coming along the line and wanted to be a big part of it. And so I think he's thrilled to death. Talking to him after the game the other day, he was genuinely thrilled that he was a part of it. Because I've told you guys, and it's a true story, that guy walked in after 4.5 months of being out, said, "I'm just glad to be back. I hope to help out. But you're playing great, and if you don't want to play me, I get it." And if that doesn't tell you what kind of a professional, what kind of the team-first attitude he's got, that's why he's the captain. But I know he's very, very excited to be there.
And over to the right, go.
Terry, I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the process was when you hired Kevin Long, the organization hired Kevin Long, and how do you judge the impact he's had as a coach this year?
Well, I did not know Kevin. I'd heard a lot of good things about him along, through the years, especially in New York. I knew some guys that had worked with him in the past, spoke extremely highly of him and what a hard worker he is. And, when he got let go in New York, we did our due diligence and called around, and there were some people genuinely disappointed that he wasn't coming back. And so when we interviewed him, we saw what he teaches and how he teaches it and how he goes about getting guys ready. And I liked it. I liked the work ethic is off the charts. Yeah, his pregame preparation is great. Now, to get players to buy into it, that's the hard part. But when you see his passion for hitting and how he cares about it, the players just eventually buy into it. And I mean, we're seeing it with Dan Murphy right now. So I'm extremely thrilled that he's been here. He's done an outstanding job. During the tough times when we weren't scoring runs. Like all coaches, they take that stuff personally. And he put his mind to the fact that, look, we got to get better in certain areas. And, and this guy's tireless. I mean, in that video room, tirelessly, every day. And got guys and helped some guys. And so I think we're seeing the results of what it's like to be a major league coach throughout the season, that eventually, if everybody starts to buy into what you're trying to teach, eventually it pays off, and it's paying off.
And right here to the left front, Adam.
Two questions. One, Juan Uribe hasn't played in more than a month. Even if he says he feels okay, and I don't know if that's the case, is he doubtful to make the roster just because he hasn't played in so long? And then if I could ask
There's
one
Matt
other.
Reynolds.
So there's a chance then that Juan, or a good chance?
There's a chance of it, yep.
And secondly, I think you said that your pitchers throw almost too many strikes. Against this team particularly, is it important for them to start going outside the zone a little bit more?
Well, I don't know, Adam. We'll see.
And over here. And the front left again.
Oh, I got it. Terry, I wonder to what extent you're having another bite at the apple as a manager. To what extent you're a different manager now than you were before, and could you have done this 15 years ago?
Sure wish I had the shot at it. We had good enough teams to do it. I know that. I don't know. I think I could have done it 15 years ago. I don't think, again, this is more about the players than the managers. But, yeah, I think the fact that I changed the way I wanted to go about things helped here in our situation, especially in New York. I try to stay in the background as much as I can, and it's hard to do due to the title I have. But I try to stay out of the way. I have great coaches. I let them coach. My job is to pretty much make sure the players are on board with everything we're doing. And so I think I've changed a lot there. I don't take everything as personal as I once did. And I let the coaches do that now. So it's worked. It's worked here. I'm happy about it. I'm thrilled to death to be here. I can honestly tell you, baseball for 45 years, it tells you how hard it is to get here. So you better enjoy it, and I'm enjoying it.
And over to the right.
Terry,
at the center.
you guys were pretty confident as a bunch from day one in spring training. You've obviously been playing at a pretty high level for the last couple of weeks, but it was still kind of cool / surreal, whatever you want to say, walking on the field here yesterday and just realizing you're kind of walking onto the World Series.
Yeah, it is, Mike. I mean, when you walk around and talk to players, which I tried to do, I mean, I can't tell you, from some veteran guys to the rookies. They're walking around and say, wow, it's a cool place. I've never been here. Man, we're in the World Series. And that it strikes home. It's what it's all about. I told Michael Conforto, we can probably go back, and you guys know a lot of these younger players better than I do on other clubs, but not very often do you start out the year in A-ball and end up in the World Series. So, he's in a unique situation, and he should be very proud of how hard he worked this year and the fact that he gets this opportunity. And I told Noah the same thing. I said, you're starting one of the biggest games in the city of New York in years and years. I said, you should be proud of the fact that, you're able to do it and that we think you're ready to do it. So it was great. And then, of course, the veteran guys, Addison Reed and I talked before the game, and he said, there was a time in Arizona I was counting the days down. Now I don't want it to end. So it just tells you, the impact of playing in the World Series, what it means to people.
How about yourself? You've been through a million things.
I have.
Walking on the field yesterday, was it
cool.
Kind of cool for you?
That was great. It was really, really great. It was, it's the ultimate when you're a manager or you're a player to play in this setting. It's hard to get here, so you got to have some fun with it. And even though it's as pressure packed as it may be, you got to enjoy it. You got to try to enjoy it, and we're going to enjoy it.
And over here to the left.
Terry, you guys have been so protective over the starters, for the entire season. Now when you got to the postseason, it's different. I mean, you were protective of Matt, too, aware of the innings. When did that change, that you went from being protective of him to being a guy that just can be a workhorse now and just can do whatever you need him to do?
Well, I think it started in the postseason, Dave, for sure. We still try to, monitor it at the end of the season. Even the games when we thought we had to build his pitch count back up to where if we were going to get into the postseason, he was ready to go. We still were very, very cognizant of the fact that we couldn't get crazy. When we got into the postseason, we kind of put a limit on him, probably more than they were ready to handle. But I think the adrenaline factor was involved that they could probably get through it. And we've been lucky due to the days off we've had. But we worked very, very hard to make sure that these guys physically were ready to add on some extra innings at the end of the summer. And, we're seeing great results because of it. That's one reason why we gave Jake an extra day. We think, even though he was one guy we planned on having pitch 200 innings, it's the first time he's done it too. So we start to see some little traits of, fatigue set in. So we see, you know what, he might need an extra day. So we've worked hard, and it's paid off. That's why we're here. And, tomorrow night, Kansas City will decide how long Matt's going to pitch. So, but I have all the confidence in the world he's going to get deep.
I mean, now that you're here, Terry, are there any limitations on Matt as far as what?
Innings or pitches? I mean, there'll always be a little bit. We realize that he's going to come back in 4 days and have to pitch again. So, we're aware of that too. But, he won't throw 150 if that's what you're thinking. No, that's more than he's going to throw.
And over to the right in the front, Ken.
Terry, Matt has never lacked for confidence or boldness. Now that he's put together this season with postseason success, maybe more in this next round, how much more respect we have in a clubhouse with that kind of personality? How much better does that play now that he has this on his resume?
Yeah, Ken, I think it helps everybody. Again, we all salute Matt. Again, I think he was put in a real tough situation a while ago. Don't know if it was handled all the bestly, perhaps the right way, but when I know this guy well enough to know he wants the baseball, and I think his conversations with David and some of the other veterans, he realized, the only way he's going to be that person he wants to be is to be out in the middle of that field, and so he took the baseball back to give me the ball, and so I salute that. I salute the fact that certainly we all realize. Anytime you're out on the baseball field, something freaky can happen, and your career could come to an end. But it's about the competition side and being out there with your teammates, and he wants to do that. So I'm not shocked by it, and I'm thrilled that he said, "Give me the baseball," because he's going to get it.
And back over to the left.
Terry, so much talk about the Royals' success against guys that throw hard, 95 plus. But how well equipped do you feel like your starters are based on the type of secondary stuff they have and command of it that they have?
Well, we have to be, because we went into the Cubs series saying exactly the same thing. These guys are very good fastball hitters, so we've got to change speeds. We've got to continue to pound the strike zone. But you know what? We can't just keep running 97-mile-an-hour fastballs. They're going to eventually get to them. So I thought our guys did a great job of mixing things up. I thought Travis did an outstanding job of coming up with staying with the game plan that we had, even during some tough innings where, there were some situations pitch count wise where you had to get away from the fastballs, and they did, and still managed to throw some strikes and get some out. So we got to continue to do that because that's pitching. I don't care how hard you throw, you've got to mix them up a little bit.
And over to the far right in the front.
Terry, what do you think you'll do with the DH situation the next couple of days?
Well, Kelly's going to DH tomorrow night,
Okay.
and then I'll worry about Wednesday when it comes.
And over here to the left.
Terry, you guys haven't had to play from behind very often in these postseason. If you do find yourself behind, how much of a challenge is that Royals bullpen, given the arms that they throw out there 6 through 9 innings?
It's a huge challenge. I mean, it's if you watch, which we did, they cut the game. They make the game short. They get the lead after 6. You're in trouble. So we certainly are aware of that, and so we don't plan on being behind in the 6th. So we can try to stay away from those situations if we can.
We'll try and take a couple more for Terry over here to the far right.
Terry, does Granderson have anything on with his thumb? There was a picture from the team Twitter account with a little wrap on it.
Cell phone cameras. Can't live with them, can't live without them, huh? Yeah, he jammed his thumb in Chicago on a slide, and so as precaution goes, he played the next day. He was fine. He's taking batting practice. He's fine. To relieve all this, you put him in a little protective wrap that it's not a sling. He's going to play. He's in there. So, but yeah, he had jammed his thumb. So now that it's out, let's keep anything else you want the rest of the league to know about us, let us know.
And all the way in the back.
Terry, we talk about Matt and the Tommy John surgery, but 3 of your 4 starters have had Tommy John surgery. What has that challenge been like for you watching their pitch counts, and how much has that surgery changed in the last 45 years or whenever it started?
Well, it's changed the game. I mean, I was fortunate to be with the Los Angeles Dodgers when Tommy John had the surgery. So, and I watched what he had to go through to come back from it. So certainly it has changed the fact when pitchers' elbows go bad, there's still a big future, a bright future ahead. So it's about strength, and I know that I'm not going to get into the medical side of it. I know there's good ones and bad ones. There's no shelf life, as we saw with one of our pitchers last year who was looking great and tore it again. To have another one. So there is that, but I think that you do the best you can because there is no way to know if it's going to come. When I was the minor league director of the Dodgers, we had a seminar with Dr. Job, who did the surgery, and tried to figure out the best way to keep your pitchers healthy. And after 3 days, he stood up at the end and he said, well, I know this, that no matter how hard you try, if they're going to break, they're going to break. And so we have tried to manage the throwing programs, the strength training programs, the pitch counts, the innings counts, and when they're going to go, they're going to go. So the point is you got to find guys who want to compete, and I think we have those guys.
And over here to the far left.
Terry, how satisfied have you been all season with your pitching staff's ability to hold runners, given that they've got some guys who can steal bases over there? Or is that something that needs to be emphasized during this period before the game?
It's going to be emphasized today. We're going to have a meeting today to get ready, and it's going to be emphasized because certainly they've got some guys who can run, but they have 2 guys on that bench. When they come in, they are running. So we have got to do a much better job of changing speeds to the plate, changing our moves to first base, giving them a little something to think about. But the best way to do it is keep them off the base. So that's going to be our biggest challenge.
Okay, here in front, and
I know Juan Lagares hasn't faced righty pitching a lot. Was that the alternative to having Kelly Johnson as the DH, to use Juan in the outfield and maybe DH one of the outfielders, but those guys play strongly enough in the outfield that you dismiss that?
Adam, we looked at all the possibilities, and if Cueto was starting, we were looking at perhaps somebody else because his numbers against lefties are pretty good. But we thought tomorrow night that Kelly gave us our best opportunity, and if we need to make changes, we will. But, yeah, we're pretty happy with our outfield defense. This is a big park like ours. I think Yoenis has shown that he can play center field, and we just thought, right, and if we need to make moves, we'll make moves later in the game.
And last one in the back.
Terry, just wondering, your bridge to Familia has been kind of shaky this all postseason. Have you figured out a way that you want to get to him this series, or?
Well, I guess I don't know. Shaky. I think they've done pretty well. At the end of the season, I know we had worn Clippard out enough that, but I thought the last few games that Addison's pitched very good. John Neese gave us a big out. Clippard's given us some big outs. Bartolo's been tremendous. So, I think when you talk about the bridge, again, the ideal situation is to, tomorrow night to have Matt hand the ball to Familia. And if we can do that, we're in good shape. If not, I have all the confidence in the world that anybody who steps in there is going to get the people out when you have them out. I think our matchups and guys when they've had some rest have pitched very well down in the bullpen. So as we get into the postseason, we've asked our bullpen to change some roles sometimes, but for the most part, I'm not worried about what should happen because I think we can shorten the game as good as anybody. So we just have to wait to see where we are in the 7th and 8th innings.